pod bay doors.
Greetings and welcome to another exciting episode of the Cinematic Traveler podcast. I am your intrepid movie-exploring host, Chris, and on this streaming surprise episode, I am going to be bringing you my review for the Netflix original film entitled Carry On, directed by Jaume Collet Serra and starring Taron Egerton. And as much as it's a surprise which movie I am going to be reviewing on this episode, it is also a surprise on any streaming service movie what we're going to get. Is this going to be a good one or a bad one? Well, you're going to find out, and I'm excited to talk to you about it. Before we do, as I like to do on every episode, I have to bring you a word from the sponsor of this podcast. That would be yours truly. If you could please, whatever you're listening to this podcast on, be it Apple or Spotify or the many multitudes of them out there, there's always a follow button somewhere on that screen on your phone or computer or whatever listening device you're using. If you could tap that follow button, I'd appreciate it. You can also leave me a rating and a review because it does help me make a better show for you, but it also gets the show out there to more listeners because of those blessed algorithms. And one more thing, if you could get in touch with me or follow me on my Instagram, that's at Cinematic Traveler Pod. Again, you can follow me there and find out when the new releases are coming on or just enjoy all my wacky content. It's my radio voice, my wacky content. But you can, it's the middle of the week, folks. I'm going to be a little bit off kilter on this episode. But yeah, if you could follow me on Instagram at Cinematic Traveler Pod. I do have a Twitter at CMT Pod. But if you want to go on there, you go at your own risk. This Twitter, I'm telling you, I had been off of it for a while. I've gotten back on for the show, and it is a cesspool. I'm on the other one. Was it Blue Sky as well? I think that one's at Cinematic Traveler Pod. I don't know what all the little numbers and letters that come after that one is on. That's a weird one, too. Good God, all the social media. But anyway, if you could follow me or subscribe, that would greatly appreciate it. I hope you're doing well, my beloved listener. You should be getting this episode towards the end of the week with the last weekend before Christmas. I know the stores are going to be packed, so if you have to go into those stores, plug in your earbuds and listen to this amazing podcast. It will help you drown out all of the Karens and are there male versions of Karens? I don't know what the term for that is. All of them yelling at the poor people working at the cash registers. Anyway, you can let people know about the podcast so that they would have a happier, merrier Christmas. But I think that might be all I have to. I don't really have anything to talk to you about on the show. So you know what? Let's go ahead and get on to Carry On, Carry On. Now I will try to quickly over-explain things that are about to happen on this podcast. I am going to give you a spoiler-free review as well as a spoiler-free plot synopsis. Now in my plot synopsis, I have hidden two movie quotes from movies that are either parallel or share some kind of DNA with this film. And if you can identify what movie those quotes are from, get in touch with me. As I said, Instagram's the easiest way to do it, at Cinematic Travel Pod. And let me know what movies they are. I'm keeping a running total of points for this month. At the end of the month, I'll add up all the points. And whoever wins gets to pick a movie for me to review next month. And we have a very tight race going on. I got a few participants, so it's not too late to join. You can always go back and listen to episodes from earlier in this month, all the way back from the first podcast in December, and you can get your points that way, and you can catch up in a hurry. So please participate in the contest and be uncool with Chris. So Carry On, like I said, is a Netflix original film directed by Jaume Collet Serra. And in the film, we are introduced to our hero, Ethan, played by Taron Egerton, and his girlfriend, Nora, played by Sophia Carson. And it's on Christmas Eve, and they have just learned that Nora is pregnant. Now, they don't have time to celebrate as Ethan is a TSA agent and Nora works for an airline at the same airport, LAX. And as I mentioned, it's Christmas Eve, one of the busiest traveling days of the year. So off to work they go. So when Ethan gets there, he realizes with a child on the way that he has to try to get a promotion from his boss, who gives Ethan a shot at the X-ray machine for the carry-on baggage to see if he can handle all of those lovely, lovely passengers coming through there. Oh, what a wonderful job that must be. So not only is this one of the busiest travel days of the year, but unfortunately for Ethan, a mysterious earpiece is given to him. And on the other side of said earpiece is the voice of an even more mysterious man played by Jason Bateman. Now he tells Ethan to let one of his colleagues with a carry-on baggage to get through the checkpoint. Now inside this carry-on there is a dangerous device. But if Ethan tries to stop this carry-on from getting onto the airplane, Nora will be killed. Oh, a busy day at work, angry passengers, pregnant girlfriend, and now an unseen killer. Ethan has to be thinking, looks like I picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue. So throughout the movie, Ethan is trying to keep the killer happy while he forms some sort of plan to stop them. And eventually, he gets the help of a police detective, Elena, played by Danielle Deadweiler, who upon meeting Ethan and hearing his plight can only think, you're the wrong guy in the wrong place at the wrong time. Story of my life. I gave that one away again. I can't help it. It's too much fun. If you think I gave it away there, oh, you just wait. Now, can Ethan do his best John McClane and stop these crazed killers? Or will he fail miserably and die hard, causing Nora to die hard too? Sometimes this is just for me, folks. Honestly, sometimes I'm just entertaining myself behind this microphone. Now, I won't answer any of those questions because I don't want to spoil this movie, but I am going to give you the best damn review of Carry On in the whole podcast universe. Nay, the whole universe, damn it. Probably because I'm one of about 3 people that watch this movie. No, it's actually the #1 movie on Netflix right now. So I think some of you might be interested in what I have to say. Why would you not be interested in what I have to say? So sliding into the review, if you are new to the podcast, I do break my reviews down into 3 segments: the good, the bad, and the nitpicky. The good is the stuff that works for me in the movie. Bad is obviously stuff that doesn't. And the nitpicky, these are things that are neither good nor bad, just little things they put in movies, sometimes Hollywoodisms, just sometimes stupid things that I think of while I'm watching these movies that make me laugh. And as I'm trying to do with this podcast, I'd like to entertain you and make you laugh, because I do love to make people laugh. Especially you. Yes, you. Oh, yeah, I see you over there. You just sit back and enjoy the show, baby. So, as always, let's start off with the good or the positive in this movie. The first thing that I have to say, this is gonna be a difficult review. I'm not gonna lie to you. As I was watching this movie, I was like, man, this is gonna be a tough one. So I think the first positive I have for this movie is that it knows what it is and it kind of stays in its lane, if that makes any kind of sense. It isn't trying to redefine cinema or what this type of movie, this thriller action movie is. And it knows sort of the cheesiness or the silliness of the movie without like winking at you going, aha, we're just having fun. It plays by the rules it sets up with and takes that seriously, but it also knows it is kind of a fun movie to watch. So I will give credit for that. You don't get that a lot anymore. You sort of get one way or the other, where it's a bad movie that people think is good, or it's a good movie that turns out, but I don't know. You know what I'm saying here. But I like that it did pick its groove and it stuck with it. It's well directed. I have to say, I didn't know the name off the top of my head of the director, Jaume Collet Serra. But when I looked up the movies he's done on IMDb, it really played into what I was thinking in this movie. Because as I was watching this movie, I thought, oh my God, this feels like, you remember the movies Liam Neeson did, like 3 or 4 of them in a row, where he's always like, you know, he's on an airplane on one of them where the killers are like, oh, we know you're on the plane, so you have to do this and do that. Another one where he's on a train or something like that, and they're like, oh, okay, well, you got to do this and do that. And I looked him up, and he actually directed, I think, 2 Liam Neeson movies. The Commuter, which I think was the one on the train, and Nonstop. Was that the one on the airplane, or Unknown? Maybe is that 3? Is that 3? That could be 3. He also did The Shallows, which is a movie I kind of like. He did Jungle Cruise and Black Adam with The Rock. So I was like, oh, this guy's actually done some movies that I've heard of. And then, like I said, when I found out he had done Liam Neeson movies, I was like, okay, this all makes sense right now. So the movie, for a streaming service movie, it looks like a well put together movie. It moves at a good pace. It's just at that 2 hour mark, but I don't think it ever feels boring. You never get restless when you're watching the movie. I would say the first half of the movie, you're dealing with Ethan trying to outsmart Jason Bateman, who's talking to him. That's how they communicate, through this earpiece. I guess it has a microphone on it too. Sure, why not? Let's just go with it. But he talks to that. So you have that sort of cat and mouse with him trying to outwit him, but there are other members of this team, this Jason Bateman evil team, whatever you want to call it, and they have access to the camera. Of course, they always have access to everything, so they're watching him, and he's trying to, like I said, he's trying to outsmart them, but also keep them happy because he knows Nora could die if they get upset. So that sort of back and forth, cat and mouse stuff like that keeps you entertained the first part of the movie, and I'll get into some of the performances and why that works so well. And then you sort of devolve into the action movie at the end, where there's, Ethan's running around the airport trying to stop this and trying to stop Jason Bateman. There's a pretty cool car fight. You're either going to like it or you're not. I actually liked it. It's very CGI, but it's neat how the camera's right in the car and it's rolling around and flipping around. So it was a pretty good action piece about, I would say, a middle 2/3 into the movie. So that's really when the action started ramps up, and it does become kind of like Die Hard 2, where he's, in the luggage area fighting guys. And like I said, he run around trying to find the bag and fighting with Jason Bateman and trying to stop the bad guys from winning. And as I mentioned early on, the back and forth between Taron Egerton and Jason Bateman keeps you invested through that section, because there's not like a whole lot going on as far as action is concerned. You just have Ethan, like I said, he's trying to figure out who the person is talking to him, figure out if this is real, and figure out how he can get someone alerted to what's going on without tipping off Jason Bateman's character. That way, like I said, Nora doesn't get killed, or numerous people in the movie. Now, I've always liked Taron Egerton, of course, from the Kingsman movies. The first one I think is great. I love that movie. But he's done so many other different movies. I always liked him as, was it Eddie the Eagle? That one was really good, where he's the skier with Hugh Jackman. If you haven't seen that one, excellent movie. Also, I thought he did a great job playing Elton John in the Rocket Man movie. So he's got a likable, sort of friendly, you're rooting for him kind of hero. So you really invest in him. Plus, he's just found out that, he's going to be a dad. So he wants to improve his life because he wants to support his family, obviously. Even though which I could relate to, he hates this job that he's on. So it's very hard for him to really, swallow his pride and want a promotion at a job that he can't stand. He also doesn't like Christmas. So I could relate to this guy instantly. But I thought his likability, his charm, and his earnestness in this role, I mean, he takes it. This isn't him winking at the camera. This is him really playing that character. So you buy into that, even though there's all this crazy stuff going on around him. And Jason Bateman as the bad guy, I don't think he has a name. It's just villain or something like that. But he's pretty much an asshole anyway. But he plays this very well. I like very early on, like I said, he's in the earpiece. He's always talking to Ethan. So he'll comment on, like, if Ethan will be talking to somebody and he'll have these little comments. There's a point where he's having an argument because he can't talk to his girlfriend and let her know what's happening. So he's being very vague, and she's kind of figuring that out, and Jason Bateman's just in his ears making all these smart ass comments, and I thought that's pretty funny. So I like that interaction between the two. It also makes Jason Bateman's villain more interesting. He isn't just snarling at him and telling him, "Oh, you better do it or we're gonna kill you." He has some fun with the role, so that keeps you invested until the action hits at the end. Danielle Deadwyler is fine as the detective. She's the tough as nails detectives. But there is another character in this movie I was so happy to see, and it's an actor. You might not know his name, Josh Brenner, but he was Big Head in Silicon Valley. I don't know if any of you watched that TV show. It was on HBO, I don't know how many years ago. about the guys with the startup computer company or whatever they were doing. And he was one of my favorite characters because he was like this stoner and he was laid back. And he always went along with these plans that you knew as an audience, you're watching, you're like, that's a stupid plan. But somehow he was just always cool through it, and it always worked out for him. So anytime I see him in a movie, I'm like, big head. So it was always great to see him in this movie. So when you have a lot of likable characters or giving likable performances, it really does help you with the negative or the bad of the movie that we're going to slide into. And yeah, I'm not going to argue if you if you got in touch with me and you watch this movie and said this is stupid, there's no way this would happen. If this doesn't happen and that does, I would agree 100% with you. Yeah, if you pull like one thread on the plot of this movie, it completely falls apart. Like I said, he's got this earpiece. If he would have just taken that earpiece and went, whatever, and threw it in the trash, this whole movie ends. There's times where the killer could have killed Ethan and moved on. And then there are times when Ethan could have fought and killed the killer. So there's all these moments and just coincidences and conveniences that have to happen throughout this movie for the movie to happen. I don't want to spoil anything, but if you've seen any of those Liam Neeson movies like I was talking about, you understand what I'm talking about. So you have to kind of buy into that. I don't want to say you got to turn your brain off, but maybe a little bit. I think it's more you just have to go along with what the movie is. Like I said, the movie sets up its rules and it goes, okay, this is what we're going to do. So you could either come along and have a good time, or you can question everything that happens and you're going to hate this movie. So for this, well, I'm not going to tell you how I felt about it. But there are plenty of moments in this movie, oh my God, where it just, if one thing would have went the other way, there's never happens. This is the most convoluted plan you could ever think of to have something like this. Especially when you find out the device and why they're doing it the way they're doing it. You kind of roll your eyes a little bit at it. And while, like I said, I gave the movie a positive for knowing what it is, I will tell you right now, this is a copycat of so many different, like I said, Die Hard 2, that comes to mind instantly because it's Christmas time, it's in a busy airport, and you got the one guy trying to stop all the evil guys. But also, as I mentioned, the Liam Neeson movies or any movie where the bad guy is trying to make someone do something against their will because they're, holding a hostage, or they might kill these people or do that. Hell, Die Hard 3 was the same way, I think. So if you are the type of person that's going to pull the threads on this plot, you're also going to go, okay, well, I know where this movie is going because I've seen all of these other movies that are exactly the same. So it's, again, like I said, this is a very difficult movie for me to review because as much as I enjoyed parts of it, I could sit there as a movie fan and go, okay, yeah, this is really dumb right now. And this is just like this movie. And it's just like Die Hard 2. And probably if this was in a movie theater, I might have different feelings about it. But it is a streaming movie, so we won't be quite as mean. Come on, it's Christmas, it's the holiday season. I can't be mean and evil to all of these movies. I gotta pick a few where I like it. This is kind of one of those. All right, I'm about to tell you everything. All right, let's move into the nitpicky. I told you it's the middle of the week. All right, I got done at work. I just ate. My brain is everywhere right now. My ADD is just flaring up. Let's go into the nitpicky. And these are things that are neither good nor bad. Silly things that I pick up in these movies. Like I said, it could be Hollywoodism. It could just be whatever's happening in the movie. It makes me go, hey, wait a minute. And so hopefully I can make you laugh. One of the first ones I thought of was like I said, they're in the bowels of the airport and Ethan's having to fight people in the luggage area. And they've got all these carts with these bags and they're just pushing them at each other and throwing them everywhere. And I can't help but think, with my luck, I would be some guy headed to like Hawaii. I've saved for months or years for this magical trip to Hawaii at Christmas time. And I'm going to get there and my baggage is going to be still back at LAX because now it's part of a crime scene. What the hell happened? Or maybe got lobbed on another place going to Minnesota. I'm like, where's my luggage? So now I'm stuck in Hawaii while my luggage is having a festive journey to Minnesota. Thanks, Ethan and Jason Bateman, you bastards. My next nitpick, very early on, Nora, when she's talking to Ethan about the pregnancy and what the future holds, she knows that Ethan doesn't like his job. And apparently he applied for the police academy, but didn't get in the first time or something. So she tells him, with the kid on the way, why don't you go apply for the police academy? And it just made me laugh because most movies that you ever see where there's a cop and he's married, the wife always wants him to leave the police department because it's not safe, it's dangerous. Here's this woman, hey, we're going to have a kid away. Why don't you go take one of the most dangerous jobs in the world? Maybe she's laying a hint out to him. Maybe she's working with Jason Bateman. Possibly. Could be. You don't know. I haven't talked much about her in this episode, so maybe I'm trying not to spoil things. You don't know. You don't know until you watch the movie, which I'm about to tell you whether you should or not. Another nitpick, and this was just a personal one. As she was talking to him about this police academy dream of his, and she's supporting him, go chase your dreams, it felt very foreign to me. What is that? A healthy, supportive relationship with a woman? That makes no sense to me. It doesn't compute in my brain. I don't know what that's like. I've never had one. Please help me. And my last, well, this isn't really a nitpick. This was just something I thought of as I was watching this movie, and I was taking my notes and everything. And like I said, this really is the same kind of blueprint for all of those Liam Neeson movies where he's trapped in a thing and somebody calls him and tells him what he has to do. And I just couldn't help but think, what other scenarios could we put poor Liam in? Or I guess now it's Taron Egerton, right? Like maybe he's leaving the bar. He's had one too many and he calls an Uber and he gets in and the phone rings. We know you're taking an Uber back to your house, but you have 24 hours to stop the bomb in the middle of the city from blowing everybody up. Don't miss Liam Neeson in Uber. Or Liam Neeson has 24 hours to deliver food across town or his wife and family would be murdered. Don't miss Liam Neeson in DoorDash. Oh, boy. This episode is going to be a lot of fun to edit. Okay, let me get control here. All right, let's focus. All right, wrapping up my review for Carry On. Should you watch this movie? I would tell you, if this had come out in a movie theater, I would tell you to watch it on streaming services. And since it's on Netflix, I'm going to tell you to watch it. Yes, it has some really stupid moments, a lot of coincidences. As I mentioned, if you pull one card out of this house of cards, it's all going to collapse in on itself. But ultimately, the movie knows that. And it's just like, let's go for a fun ride for 2 hours. You got some really good performances from Taron Egerton and Jason Bateman. It's got some good suspense. It's got a good action mix. You can't help but root for this movie. So I'm going to tell you, after really a lot of crappy streaming movies that I've watched recently, it's nice to see one that is competent. It was entertaining. I was engaged through the whole movie. So you know what? If you just want to have some dumb fun, check out Carry On. So now that we've gotten through that roller coaster ride of a review, if you're still here, I must have done something right. And again, if I did, if you could please follow the show, rate and review, I'd greatly appreciate it. Get in touch with me on Instagram at Cinematic Traveler Pod. You can give me the answers to the movie quote contest. Or you could just tell me what you think of Carry On, if you thought it was good or not. I'd love to hear back from you. Now, on my next episode, I don't know what I'm going to do on my next episode because there is nothing coming out in this movie theater this week that I want to watch. So I don't know. I might have to come up with, I got a couple of ideas. So definitely come back. It'll be a surprise for both of us, but I got a few ideas in the back of my brain rolling around. And as you can tell from this episode, it's a scary place in the back of my brain. But before I go, I just want you to thank me for taking the time out of my day to make this podcast to entertain you. I tell everyone I know that I am the smartest and sexiest podcast host in all the podcast universe, and I never fail to live up to those high standards. But seriously, thank you for listening. I greatly appreciate you as an audience member. And as you are traveling around on this blue and green ball bouncing through the cosmos, I need you to do one thing for me. Go out there and do that voodoo that you do so well. Punch it.